Okay, perfect. Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. We're going to wait a couple more seconds to allow attendees to join the webinar, and then we'll get started. All right. Well, hello everyone. My name is Nikki Majidi, and it is my pleasure as a fellow political science student and former AS 2024-25 ASI president to welcome you all to this 49er industry chat. Before we start, we'd like to inform you that this session is being recorded and will be available on demand on our website at www.csulb.edu/alumni. Once it's posted, feel free to share it with a friend, fellow alumni, or someone you know who would benefit from this chat. We also encourage you to use the Q&A box to submit any questions for our lovely guest speaker. My colleague Rosalinda will be helping moderate the chat during this webinar. The alumni team would also like to promote CSU Voices. CSU Voices is the California State University's advocacy community that keeps CSU alumni informed of the issues shaping the future of the CSU system. By taking simple actions like sending messages to elected leaders, you can influence state and federal policy decisions that affect students, campuses, and communities. Join CSU Voices and protect access, affordability, and the value of a CSU degree. We'll drop the link in the chat to learn more and sign up. And now, I would like to introduce our alumni host, Anthony Regina. Welcome! I'll start off by reading your bio before we jump in. Anthony Regina is a district representative for Lena Gonzalez, serving communities across Southeast Los Angeles. Prior to his current role, Anthony worked for the City of Long Beach, serving as the legislative aide and legislative scheduler in the Office of Councilmember Dr. Joni Ricks-Oddie, where he gained hands-on experience in local government operations, constituent services, and legislative research. He previously interned with the city manager's government affairs department and the office of Assemblymember Josh Lowenthal. Anthony is a proud graduate of California State University, Long Beach, where he earned a degree in political science and history with a certificate in legal studies. As a student, he served as the Chief Government Relations Officer for Associated Students Incorporated, advocating for students at the local, state, and federal levels and leading civic engagement initiatives. He's passionate about helping others explore pathways into the public service, policy, and government careers. Anthony, thank you so much for being here today and welcome.
No, thank you for having me today. Really appreciate you reading the bio and introducing me today. Hello, everyone. I'm Anthony Regina. Like Nikki said, I am the district representative for Senator Lena Gonzalez. I recently joined the office in November of 2025, so I'm fairly new. But other than that, Nikki, I think you really wrapped up the whole bio there. So thank you. I look forward to our conversation.
Yeah, me too. And again, as a reminder, our moderator, Rosalinda, will be checking the chat for any questions attendees would like Anthony to answer. So let's jump in for our first question. First, let's start off with a little background. Of course, I did give a bit of a bio there, but can you tell me your experiences and what led you to CSULB?
That's a great question. Well, when I was in high school, this goes back years ago. I've always been really interested in politics and government, and so back in middle school, I was involved in doing volunteer service. I was in student government as well. So that's when it kind of started kicking the interest in politics, understanding that there's a lot of issues that go on in the community. And then in the middle of that is government, politics, and so it kind of drew me into that field back when I was in middle school, coming into college. Ninth grade, I already knew I want to study political science because I was doing my research, learning about different elected officials, and they studied like either law, political science. So that's when I started like gaining a little bit insight into what I wanted to do going into college. So eventually, once I started applying to schools, in my senior year of high school, I already made my decision, political science. it came down to either going to UC Irvine or Cal State Long Beach because LMU was super expensive. Unfortunately, I was waitlisted from Santa Barbara and UCLA, but the only UC that I got into was UC Irvine, and then Cal State Long Beach having a good name recognition and a good reputation in the Cal State system. It was between UC Irvine and Cal State Long Beach. There was something about UC Irvine that just wasn't calling me or drawing me in. And so eventually I ended up choosing Long Beach. One, I wanted to go to a school that was near the beach. So even though unfortunately Santa Barbara waitlisted me, that was one of the schools I wanted to go to because it's right at the beach. So I'm like, you know what? Cal State Long Beach, it's 30 minutes from home, close to home. I won't be too far, affordable as well. So I'm like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you go to school, is the experience and how much you work into, getting involved. And so eventually that's when I decided to go to Cal State Long Beach. Just it was more economically friendly. It's close to home and it's just 10 minutes away from the beach. And honestly, I am very happy that I went there because I honestly winged it. I've never even visited the campus before getting accepted, so it was just out of luck and like just winging it. And I think it was the best decision I ever made.
Oh, that's awesome. You know, it's similar to what I always say. Because I don't know if you've ever been to that one coffee shop, Bogart's. I think it's on Seal Beach, literally less than 10 minutes away from Long Beach. And I always tell people, how many times can you go from studying with a view of the beach and then going and watching a game in a pyramid? Like, it's so
I,
cool.
it's surreal, and it's great too because even when I was in school, like I was in a fraternity as well, and my friends were like, "Let's go to the beach." When we'll just go to the beach, whether to just study or if we wanted to do like a bonfire, wasn't too far from, I forgot what beach is it that they have the bonfires.
Bolsa Chica, I think.
Bolsa Chica, yeah, Bolsa Chica. So it's like knowing that it's just in a great geography. It's like not only do you have downtown Long Beach where it's like a good way to like hang out with friends as well, but you have everything around you. So that's why I fell in love with it.
Right. I get it. And you touched on this a little bit, but I'm curious, what was your student experience like at CSULB? So any clubs, activities, classes, professor's job, you name it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So one of the things I came into school already declared as a political science major. I added one thing I've also liked too is history. I've always been interested about history, just learning about the past, just learning about how different things from the past have shaped different things along the way to, shaping modern history now. So I always loved reading about, US history. And then even when it comes to politics and government, there's history involved as well. And so you know, I already like political science. I'm already doing something about it, but I also like history as well. So, I decided to, why not do both and double major? Um, it was very, very not hard, but it was definitely a lot of reading, a lot of writings. It was a lot of papers I would have to do at a weekly basis. And it's one of the things that I think really I enjoyed most is because you're gaining a lot of interesting points of view, learning about history, politics, how do people political behaviors are shaped because of certain social issues or political issues as well. And then how does that end up influencing history? And so that's what I decided to do political science and history as a major. And the other thing I told myself too, when I first started school, I wasn't involved. I was still trying to figure out my place on campus, like what do I want to see myself doing? I know for a fact that I was gonna do student government at some point because I've been doing student government since sixth grade. And I just took a 2 year gap in high school to try something new, but it's been something part of me being in student government, being in that decision making, helping, being a voice of the students. So I knew for a fact that I was gonna do student government at some point. I just didn't know when. Eventually, you know, second year, COVID happened. We're all online, but I told myself, you know, I should either push myself to be involved or to join a club or something because it's like your first 4 years of high school, your undergrad, it really defines not only you as a person, but what you want your college experience to be. And so I pushed myself. I decided to join the fraternity Delta Lambda Phi, open LGBTQ fraternity. Till this day, I still talk to my fraternity brothers. They're one of my close friends group till this day. I was in student government, which is one of the greatest decisions I ever made, starting as a senator, eventually making my way to being chief government relations officer, where I led a lot of the advocacy efforts, which I know you were a part of with me as well in Lobby Corps. So and then just really putting myself out there. I did Political Science Student Association. I was also in EOP as well. So it was definitely a big community that I had, and I wanted to really be a part of that community. And so, which is one of the reasons why I also joined student government, so that I can, be a good influence to the students' voices that, wanted to get their voices heard as well.
Yeah. I remember I would always think about you. So for the listeners, when I had the pleasure of working with Anthony as his lobby corps representative, and in the year after, I ended up getting elected as president for the following year. And this lobby corps that we had was so great. It genuinely like he influenced the next like what is it? We're on the third lobby corps after or second lobby corps after. He's made so many incremental changes that like I hope will stay forever, but it's all because of him. Like genuinely, oh wow, you were a visionary at the time and thank God you joined student government too.
Yeah, I remember one of the things I changed was when I started as chief government relations officer during my the second semester to my third year. One of the things I noticed is that our meeting times were at 2:30. And during my first semester as student government, as chief government relations officer, I told myself, well, how can we keep on making sure that our lobby corps, we retained our members? How can we make sure that we get them engaged, because ultimately it's a collective group. We're going to Sacramento, we're meeting with, legislators to, bring the stories and the voices to our students to them so that we can make impact on the decision making. How can we make it more engaging? And so I remember when after my first close to these towards the end of the first semester that I served, I told our ASI president, who I believe it was Isaac Julian at that time. I told him I want to change the meeting times from 2:30 to 3:30, because 2:30 is in the middle of when classes are. So at least 3:30 students can decide, do I want to take this class, or do I want to be part of this committee? And so I think that's one of the good things that I've, changed, because did help us retain our lobby corps member, and we were actively engaged the year that I was fully one full term as well.
hmm Yeah. So jumping out of that a little bit, what was your first job out of college and what did it teach you about the industry?
Yeah, so my first job out of college, I was still not even done with school. It was second to last week of school. At that time, I was with the Long Beach City Manager's Government Affairs Department. I was interning there my last semester of school. And so I saw the job posting for Councilmember Dr. Joni Ricks-Oddie, who represents the Ninth Council District. They were looking for a part-time scheduler. And so one of the things I love and I always been passionate about is policy. Obviously, as a scheduler, it sounds very administrative, very clerical. But I told myself it is in the council office, it is part-time, but maybe along the way it can turn into either something more permanent or something that you want to hope you get out of it. So my first job out of college was the part-time scheduler with council member Dr. Joni Ricks-Oddie. I was doing scheduling, office administrative work, constituent services. Eventually, 6 months into around 6 months into the job, October of 2024 is when I got promoted full-time aide as a legislative aide. Um, and that's when I was there with the council office for a whole entire year, where I started gaining more experience about legislative research, operations of how city government works, learning about the different city departments that the city of Long Beach has. doing constituent services, and then learning more about local policy as well, how ordinances are implemented, how different agenda items that are introduced by the council members can help direct or shape initiatives or policies for the city of Long Beach. And so that's one of the things that was my first job out of college, just the basically being with the Office of Councilmember Dr. Joni Ricks-Oddie.
Nice. I think your mentality was really, honestly, it's like what we should be like really honing into as like people. I mean, for me, I'm about to graduate, entering the alumni field very soon. But it's having that kind of mentality of, oh, this might not be the career that I want for the rest of my life, but what is this opportunity going to teach me? Where is it going to get me? And you never know. It's like that's what's so crazy. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's the other thing too is like sometimes I like to tell people just think of the bigger picture and just think of what is it that you want to see yourself doing, a year, 2 years from now. Maybe this is something just temporary, but it can turn into something much more major and bigger if you put the commitment and the time to
Mhm.
really, make it work at the end of the day. So because when I was part-time scheduled, I'm like, yeah, it's scheduling, but I'm like, it's a council office. It's
Mhm.
a local city council member. You could learn policy along the way. And I remember when I was interning with the city manager, my supervisor, when I told him I had applied for the position, he even said, eventually at some point you'll gain some policy in that role, even though even though it says just part-time scheduler, you'll gain that policy insight along the way. And it did. I got into being legislative aide. I helped draft the agenda items for the council member. Um, there was one that I introduced that had to address speed racing because it was one of the top issues in the district as well. So it was very eye-opening to learning about how, you know, different local ordinances, local agenda items, different ideas that the local legislator has can impact an entire city.
Mhm. Wow. Yeah. That's really cool. That's really interesting. I'd love to hear more about that another time. So, kind of continuing on this track, what made you want to pursue a career as a district representative for Lena Gonzalez's office? Was your journey intentional or did you fall into it?
Well, I would definitely everything I've done has been intentional because I've always been passionate about politics and government. You know, I'm always thinking ahead I always vision what is it where I want to see myself, 5, 10 years from now or 20 years from now. Where do I want to see myself? So I start putting the Lego bricks together so eventually it kind of makes a bridge along the way so that eventually I get to where I want to be. I knew that I've always when I would be with the council office, I've always think about the next step for me. I've always strive for whatever next level is for me. Um, I know that I wanted to do state government at some point. I've always visioned myself working for an elected official, either a state senator or assembly member. Ultimately, my career goal is I would like to be a chief of staff or district director for an elected official. So knowing that this is what I want for myself 5, 10 years from now, what is it that I need to do now to get to where I want to be and reach that goal? And so when I saw the position that the district representative for the Southeast LA area was open, I gave it a shot because this is what I thought could be the next level for me because we're going from local government to now to state government as well. So
Mhm.
it was definitely intentional because I've also knew who Senator Lena Gonzalez was, and I've interacted with her during my time in student government as well, and also when I was working with Councilmember Dr. Ricks-Oddie, and this is someone I would like to work for as well. And so when I saw the position opening, I'm like, yeah, I want to. Hopefully, I get it, and ultimately I did, and I'm grateful for that.
Awesome. So, what does a typical day look like in your position?
Ooh, a typical day. It varies. It definitely varies day by day. Definitely there's gonna be some days where it's like either I'm gonna have to go off-site for a visit or whether I have a meeting off-site or either I'm gonna deliver a certificate to like a grand opening or something or I have to go to the afternoon for a meeting because there's an issue that there's being a meeting for that the senator is interested in, cares about. So it definitely varies. There's gonna be days where it's like much more slower. It's like I'm just behind the desk or being on my emails, getting some work done as well. But it definitely varies day by days depending on what I have going on for the rest of the week. So for example, when was it? Last Thursday, I had two, three meetings during the day, one in the morning and then another one in the afternoon. And then I had another one at 6 p.m. So it definitely varies. And then it was Friday the next day, and it was just more of a chill day, just catching up basically on some of the work that I need to do.
It's interesting. So what is your strategy for building relationships with other staff members and opposing stakeholders?
One of the things, I don't know if you've ever taken the Clifton Strengths Finder test. It's basically, it's if I definitely recommend anyone who's interested in doing this to do it because it's like a quiz that you take and it gives you like your five strengths. And your five strength basically is like your guide as to how you present yourself at work and like how you go about doing not just your work professionally, but personally as well. One of my strengths is harmony. And that's, I think, a key to when it comes to relationship building because um, I like to generally, I like to connect with people in a way so that whenever I meet them for the first time, it's like a good conversation going on. So that's one of the things. It's like I'm able to harmonize with people and being I'm able to find like a shared experience that they might have that helps build that relationship when it comes to working with a different staff member as well.
I definitely saw that when you were a governmental relations officer, 100%. So what are some common mistakes you see professionals in this field make?
That's a good question. I think one one of the top mistakes is, sometimes I would definitely advise students to either intern when it comes to if they're majoring in political science, because it's a very specific field as well. Political science is a very specific field. So if you intern, you're gaining experience in different sides of different local government or state government as well, or federal government as well. So definitely, I think you know, I would say the mistake would be not being involved or not starting, earlier during your college years, because one of the things that a lot of, legislators look for is do these students, when they're hiring, what is it that they already have on their resume? What is it that they could contribute to the team? Because that's what, a lot of uh, a lot of elected officials or those in government are looking for. They're looking what experience do these students have, or what is it that the applicant has on their resume that could be beneficial or be a contribution to the team. And I think that's one of the things when it comes to an applicant who, let's say, didn't do any internships, or didn't do any fellowship programs or wasn't actively involved in school. They look at that and they see, and then they want to they might not get the position compared to someone who they did this fellowship with the city of Long Beach, or they interned for this elected official. And one of the things I've noticed is that a lot of people who are in the field that I'm in right now, they start at interns and they make their way up. So it's
Mm.
definitely my biggest advice is doing internships, gaining that experience in your undergrad, doesn't matter what year, and it doesn't even matter if it's your last year too. I didn't intern until my very last year of college, and which is why I stayed an extra year because I told myself, you know, yes, student government is a good thing to have on your resume, but what else can I, present myself to to the hiring person coming out of college? And I realized I still felt like I still missing something on my resume, which is why I decided to intern with Assemblymember Lowenthal and then
Mm.
intern for the Long Beach City Manager's office, and stay that extra year to gain that extra year of professional experience, And eventually, because, knowing that I had already been in the city of Long Beach interning, it helped me, to getting the job with the council member.
Mhm. Nice. So, kind of speaking on life and harmony, how do you maintain work-life harmony in such a demanding role?
My weekends are for myself. That's like I tell people that like my weekends
Right.
are for Monday to Thursday. It's like definitely work. So I go to gyms in the morning and then work, and then I come home, rest a little bit, maybe go on a little hike in the afternoon. And then once it's Friday, Fridays are for me. I'm either hanging out with friends, doing things that is like for my own well-being, whether it's like going on a hike, going to the beach or something. Not right now because it's raining, obviously, but definitely, I think my balance is Monday through Thursday. It's like work, and then Friday, Saturday is like the more personal, like social
Mm,
life aspect of my
mm.
life, and that's where I keep the balance.
I think like in some conversations I've had with a couple other alumni friends as well, they say like this is the part of like post grad that you have to like reteach yourself a little bit is like it's kind of like gaining that life harmony because once you get start working like you're making money, you want to do it all, become the working man or woman, and then you sometimes you forget about like the whole, there's always so much professional development you can do, but can't really do that without the personal development. And I think what you're doing is that sounds pretty good.
And the other thing too is as well is like because I'm also thinking of going back to school for my master's. I want to get my master's in public administration. So I'm like, if I'm knowing that I'm gonna go back to school, I'm gonna be back in that position where it's like I have to focus on school now, but also focus on work. So it's like that's why right now it's like the balance is work and like work during the weekday and then social personal life Friday,
Right.
Saturday, Sunday. 'Cause
Right.
eventually I'm gonna have to go back to school and I'm gonna have to focus on my studies and then actually, prioritize that
Mhm.
eventually. Um, and so that's where I bring that balance in.
Nice. So this kind of question is close to another one that we've done previously, but what's the most challenging part of your job? And vice versa, what is the most rewarding part of your job?
Ooh, most challenging. That's a good question. I think one of the most challenging things I would say is there's competing opinions and priorities, particularly when it comes to certain issues. You know, the California Senate District 33, it's a big region. It encompasses city of Long Beach, goes all the way to Southeast LA. So, there's different points, there's different issues on different cities, and each city has their priorities. So it's like the challenging part is making sure that how can we uh, make sure that we're balancing all priorities and making sure every city is getting their issues addressed, making sure that no one feels like, oh, this city is getting more of the priority than this other city. So that's where, making sure that we're bringing a equilibrium, across the district. One of the most rewarding things I think would be is just hearing from constituents themselves, like, thank you for helping me. I really appreciate you. There was one when I worked in the council office, there was many neighborhood associations, residents who would tell me like, oh, thank you for helping me with this issue. I really appreciate it. It finally got resolved after so and so months. So that I think that's the most rewarding thing because at the end of the day, I'm in this field because I want to help others, and hearing that is like, okay, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and that's the most rewarding thing as well.
So, speaking on grad school, and you touched a little on your plan 5, 10 years from now, even 20, where do you see your career in the next 3 to 5 years?
3 to 5 years, I'm definitely want to still remain in public service. 3, 5 years from now, hopefully I would either be in the district representative as a senior level, or hopefully by that time, 5 years from now, I should be done with my master's degree. I would like to be a district director for an elected official, and then maybe 10 years from now, hopefully chief of staff to an elected legislator.
Mm, awesome. Do you have like a preference, state, local, or federal that you want to go long term, especially for chief of staff?
You know, it's definitely something that I've been thinking about recently as well because it's like federal level, there's the gridlock. We got to be honest. There's a gridlock between the two political parties, so it's like it's very hard to get things done at the federal level. Not saying that it's impossible,
Right.
but it's very hard to get things moved faster in the federal government. And when you're chief of staff, you're like kind of behind the scenes role, like putting the initiatives, putting everything together for the legislator, with the help of your staff. So I like to get things done. And you've seen that when I was in student government as well as law. I like to get things done. And so I realized that you can get things done more often at a local level
Mm,
than at the federal level, but also you can get more things done at the state level as well. So ultimately, I wouldn't mind being chief of staff for like a city council member or for a state senator or state assembly member.
cool.
But if I'm trying to stay home, if I still want to be in the area, definitely chief of staff to an elected official in the city of Long Beach.
Oh, nice. So, you kind of touched on it a little, but I'm curious, how do you stay informed about current trends and changes in policies?
I definitely watch the news. I'm a very news person. I pay for the Washington Post. I pay for the New York Times. So I'm definitely I like to read news articles. Um, Obviously social media is one of the top, news providers for a lot of people nowadays as well. Obviously, if you're getting yourself informed correctly, because there could be a lot of misinformation out there as well.
Right.
But social media can be a good tool as well. Um, Honestly, I even when I'm at work, we have the TV, so I just put ABC News or CBS, and have the TV playing in the background. And if I hear something like that catches my attention, that's how I learn something that's going on. And then my mom too. Sometimes my mom, when she comes home and stuff like that, she's like, "Did you hear about this?" I'm like, "No, I didn't." And then that's when I'm like, "Okay, that's how I also get my news too, from my mom."
Oh, nice. So we have a question from the audience. Beyond your political science and history degrees, what skills have been most valuable in your career and anything you didn't expect to use so much?
Definitely, I think one of the skills, especially when it comes to local government, not government, local government and just government in general, research. There's
Mm,
a lot of in-depth policy research that when it comes to creating either a piece of legislation, there has to be like the background, context of it. Why is it that we're changing this piece of legislation? Or why is it that we want to pass this legislation or introduce this bill? And so this is where the research goes into play. What is it that we need to look into, to make a change in that specific policy? One of the things that when I was in with the Office of Councilmember Dr. Joni Ricks-Oddie, I wrote one of the legislative agenda items about speed racing and addressing it. So I had to look into the data, how many reports have we gotten from the district of how many, speed racings have been going on? What ordinances have been in place since, the beginning to address street racing as well? What state legislations have been introduced that, addresses speed racing, and how can we use that for our advantage as well? So it's definitely the biggest skill would definitely be the research that I definitely have gained from being a political science and history major, since it was a lot of research papers that I would have to write
I can
at,
imagine.
at a monthly basis.
Oh, wow. So another question from the audience, kind of close. What's one policy issue you're passionate about that doesn't get enough attention?
Mm, that's a good question. I have to think of that one a little bit because for me, one of the top issues for me personally is immigration. I'm the son of two undocumented parents, so everything that's happening right now is very close to home. So it's definitely one of my top issues that, you know, I'm passionate about, and it does get a lot of main media attention. But to let's see, I will have to think about that one because it's definitely, I definitely would want to say like food security.
Mm,
I think is one of the top things that we should definitely consider that doesn't gain a lot of attention, mainly because it kind of delves into like healthcare and stuff like that and access to health with when it comes to food security. But a lot of people, especially in the Southeast LA region, and even here home in South LA where I live, there's not a lot of access to healthy foods. And so,
mm,
and that's part of people's health and well-being. So I think that's one of the things that definitely should get more attention to so that people have access to healthy foods.
mm. Yeah, I definitely I agree with you there. Hope I'm me personally, I hope to right now volunteer at a bunch of nonprofits to help food security, and hopefully it's one of my goals and dreams to start my own foundation to help food security and maybe go international. But yeah, definitely it's huge. And it's something that like a lot of we all know that it's there, but it's not talked about enough.
Mhm.
So I agree. But for the next question, for students or alumni who want to make an impact but feel intimidated by politics, what's one way that they can begin engaging civically right now? And I think you're perfect for this question.
Honestly, there's a lot of young Democrat groups, like the city of, not the city specifically, but there is a Long Beach Democrat groups. Um, I know there's political clubs as well for Republican parties as well. So for those who are like, want to gain insight into politics, but don't know how to really, um, get started in it. They can join their local Democratic club or their local Republican club or whichever political party anyone identifies in. And that way it's like they're building that relationship because a lot of these folks who are in the executive officers, they're either already working for either who are already in those fields as well. They're either chief of staff or they're district representative. So they're already doing the work. So that's a good way to gain insight by joining these, clubs that exist in outside of university wise, um, and start gaining that, insight into the political field as well.
Hmm. Yeah. So, what are some of the best ways to find opportunities for folks just starting out in their careers in the field, i.e., maybe internships, jobs, networking, etc.?
Definitely internships is one of the key components or the key players to it as well. Um, Definitely looking at different, even community-based organizations as well. They do a lot of, work that is tailored to policy as well. That can be another way to, you know, gain insight into the political field, either being like a community organizer or being a community canvasser as well. I think right now, going since we're in a election year, we're in the midterm election, this is a good opportunity for students to either get involved in a campaign or, getting involved in different, measures that might be introduced for to campaign as well. So right now, for those who are interested in like, you know, getting that experience in politics and government, right now is a very great time because there is a lot of elections going. It's an election year. We have a lot of people running for governor. We have different elected officials running for different positions as well. So definitely, this would be like a good moment as well because a lot of people who do work for a campaign, they might even and if they're elected that they're campaigning for ends up winning, they usually end up taking them with them to their office once they're get into office as well. So definitely this would be a good year to those who want to get started as well.
Awesome. So, a little similar to that, what advice do you have for 49ers interested in making a career in this industry?
I definitely would say to people, definitely um be open to meeting new people, be open to the relationship building, because when it comes to, those who are interested in government politics, it is about relationship building. It's about connections as well, because you're going to be working with a lot of people. And if you have good relationships with these people, you're going to be able to, get a lot of the things you want to get pushed or want to get pushed for or advocate for. You might be able to get it seen pass or seen it, get done. So definitely be open to networking, being open to um, meeting new people. And then just I would say for people, just keep on trying and keep on going, never give up. Sometimes things might change along the way or things might, there might be a wall that you need to jump over, but if you just keep on focus on what you want to see yourself doing, and this is what you want to do, then you'll get to where you want to be.
Nice. So this is the last question for you. If you had the chance to relive attending CSULB, would you do anything differently knowing what you know now?
Hmm, that's a good question because I don't maybe run for student body president.
If I had the chance, I'd vote for you. I'm telling you.
No, honestly, I think at the end of the day, it didn't matter what position I held. It's the work that, we put together for the students, and that's what matters. And I think that's what helped me get to where I am today. And I think at the end of the day, if I were to go back and change anything, if I knowing everything that I know now, I don't think I would. I think I really I think I really enjoyed how my college year played out. I still miss it to this day because it's so different, now being out of college and being in the real world now. Um, but definitely, I think I had a great opportunity at CSULB that I don't regret anything or I don't tell myself, I kind of wish I did this differently or I kind of wish I did this instead. I think everything that it played out for me, the, things that I was involved in, I still have great friends till this day from school. It helped me get to where I am now. So it's like I think I I put my building blocks together during my 4 years of college where I think I am satisfied as to how my college year played out.
So, I'm glad to have been a part of it. I'm glad to say that you were a part of mine as well.
And it was a pleasure, working with you when we were in lobby court together.
I know, I wish we had more time, then we can.
Oh, I know.
Well, it looks like we don't have any more questions. Thank you so much, Anthony, for joining us today. It is always a pleasure getting to speak with you and an honor, of course. Once again, visit the alumni website in the weeks ahead to see this and other recordings, as well as the schedule of upcoming virtual events. Lastly, make sure to follow us on LinkedIn. Thank you and go Beach! Thank you so much again, Anthony.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for spending your afternoon with me.